This is Talk Sports Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, and of course it is that time of the week when we welcome into the studios for the second time Mr. Mike Porky Parry. You look a bit frazzled there, Mr. Parry. You all right?
A bit frazzled. I've been through the candle experiment tonight, but I'll tell you about that later.
Candle experiment?
Yeah. It's something I have to do. It's a new method of keeping my heart in shape.
Is
you know,
it?
It's all to do with the rhythm of the heartbeat. But look, that's something we'll talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Because we want to
There
really
are more
talk
important
about
things to talk about
than
than your heart.
Let me just say, Mike, good to be with you. Friday, end of the week,
Indeed.
good way to end the week and all this kind of stuff. And, of course, Spurs, very exciting last night, so you probably want to talk about that.
Well, I do, because I think it was a great performance. I mean, I had a Spurs fan on a little bit earlier who seemed a bit underwhelmed by it all. He said, we were very lucky. We were quite miserable, really, considering it was a fantastic victory. And for me, the most entertaining game of all of the games we've seen in the last couple of weeks.
Well, that may be, but most Spurs fans...
Well, did you watch the game?
Yes, I watched some of
You
it.
didn't think it was entertaining?
I thought it was quite entertaining, but, I mean, do you think it's a massive priority for Spurs fans?
Yeah, I think it is. That's why the place was rocking. The place was absolutely rocking.
Oh, rocking, was it?
Yeah.
Rocking. Ha, ha, ha. I was at Spurs recently when Everton there.
I was with you.
Of course you were.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Of course you were.
And we were behind some glass, as has been pointed out earlier.
Yeah, now...
So you couldn't quite gauge the atmosphere in the same way.
How many people were in the stadium that day?
How many? I think it was about 38,000, wasn't it?
Thank you very much indeed. And how many were there last night?
I don't know.
32.
All right.
So what happened to the
Well, they made more
6,000
noise watching Dnipro than they did watching Everton.
Yeah, well, what
a
happened
much
to-
better game as well, by the way.
Well, how do you know? Because you just said you were behind glass. You can't hear
Well, I
what
was
the noise is in the stadium.
watching the
can you?
game.
Yeah. But listen, let me ask you this. Where do you think those 6,000 missing fans are?
Probably Dnipro, I should think.
No.
In Kiev.
No.
It's in Ukraine somewhere.
No, most
They only
fans...
had 400 visiting fans.
Most fans couldn't care less about...
No, there was an allocation
the
for
Europa
the
League.
Ukrainians, and they didn't fill it.
Well, I'm sorry, mate, but there were 6,000 fans short of the number who went to watch Spurs play Everton. That indicates to me that actually it's a so-and-so competition. It is a so-and-so competition.
Well, the
It's not
UEFA
the
rules
Champions
also
League.
dictate that you have to reduce the number of people at the game.
Well, not by 6,000. Now, the other issue is this.
Oh, we'll just gloss over that now.
Oh, yes,
so that's
we
your
will.
first point out of the way.
Yes, we will. Now, that means that Spurs now go into a two-leg tie with Benfica. It's sort of glamorous, but not really glamorous.
Oh, I think it's very glamorous, yeah.
Oh, come on. Benfica, in the days
Well, you think
when...
of the Lisbon Lions, you think of the games that have been played in Lisbon. I mean, you think about the... You're right.
The candle. The candle smoke.
You've been doing eating candles.
No, I've been breathing them in. But
Do you want a glass of water?
No, I'm fine. I'll
sure?
tell you about it in a minute. Now, the issue here is that Benfica are an average European team.
They're
now.
not what they were, that's true.
Thank you very much indeed.
true.
In the days when Eusebio played for them,
Yeah.
as you say, the eagle of Lisboa.
Lisbon.
Lisboa.
Well, Lisboa, if you wish.
Lisboa if you're a local. And so they've got a two-legged tie. Now, that's in the group of 16,
Yes,
okay?
that's right.
Because the tie they've just played against Dnipro was...
Dnipro. Actually, some people haven't been pronouncing the D. So lots of people have been pronouncing it Dnipro.
No, yeah, well,
As if
Dnipro.
the D is silent.
But so that was 32 teams. Now
Yeah.
they're down to 16. But
Yeah.
they've got to play two-leg
Yeah,
tie.
then it'll be down to 8, then 4, then 2, then 1.
Yes, but what I'm
You're
saying
telling me
is...
anything I don't know.
In the round of 16, 2 games.
Yeah.
In the round of 8, 2 games.
Yes.
In the round of 4, 2 games. And then a final.
Yeah.
So you're talking about another 7 games if they want to win. 7 games on top of their commitments in the Premier League, and they are battling to try and get into the top 4. I tell you now, for an absolute fact, every Spurs fan would change those 7 games for 7 points in the Premier League to try and get them into the top 4.
I don't think that's true.
It is absolutely true.
Well,
I know
that would
it's
be
true.
1
I've been
point for
talking
every
to my
game.
Spurs fans
Well, that would
tonight.
be 1 point for every game.
Yeah, listen, I'm telling you, I've been talking to some Spurs fans. I know what
Have
I'm
you?
talking about because I've got a very broad range of friends in the football world, in the football community.
Really?
What are you talking about?
Really? You haven't got a broad range of friends in any community. You've got a broad range of enemies in lots of places.
What are you guffawing at, you
Well,
know?
because to claim that you've got a broad spectrum
I
of
have got a
friends
broad
in
spectrum.
any area is absolute nonsense.
I can call
Most
them-
places you go, they don't want you to come back.
I can call on fans who support Liverpool,
Yes.
surprisingly,
I know that.
from Merseyside, fans who support Arsenal,
Yeah.
Everton, Spurs,
Yeah.
Chelsea. I've
Yeah, I
got
know that.
friends who are Chelsea,
Well, you
Newcastle.
may have done a
So
straw
that's
poll.
broad. That's
Well, you may have
broad.
done a straw poll of some Spurs fans that you know.
No,
but I
no,
would
no,
say that
no.
most Spurs fans, including, by the way, Steve Sherwood, who did very well last night, I
Tim
mentioned Tim Sherwood. Oh, you remember his name now?
And his name.
People I put out, congratulations to Steve Sherwood, and people were like, "Why are you calling him Steve?"
It's a silly mythical story you made up after the Everton
well, I'm
game.
not gonna let you
that
forget.
I called Tim. Just to let the listeners know that I allegedly called Tim Sherwood
Yeah, you
Steve.
did.
When he stopped his car to come over and say hello to me, hi Mike. And you think I called him Steve?
You did call him Steve.
I did not call him Steve. Don't be silly. I know Steve Sherwood is. He's a legendary figure in the history of Everton Football Club because Andy Gray barged into him, scored the first goal in the '84 Cup final against Watford. So I know my Steves from my Tims when it comes to Sherwoods.
Yes, excellent.
So just cut that out.
All right, I'll cut it out. However, the point is that there are many Spurs fans, him included, as the manager of Spurs, who said that they want to win silverware. They want a trophy. Spurs fans are like every other fan in the Football League. They want their club to win something.
To me, it's not silverware. Do you know what it is?
What is it then?
It's
Is it made of zinc or something?
No, it's tinware. That's absolutely right, Mike. It's tinware. It's a tin
Well, it's
cup.
the old UEFA Cup.
As in, I'm sorry, tin pot. Because it's not a real trophy. It's a second-rate trophy.
Well, I don't agree with that at all.
In
I
every
think,
respect.
and next season, the winner of it is going to be able to get a berth in the Champions League, and that's when it's suddenly going to be a different kettle of
So
fish
you play
altogether.
something like 17 or 18 games just to qualify for the Champions League? Utter nonsense.
Well, if you get into the
when
Champions League, it's got to be worthwhile.
Be concentrating on your domestic programme at home and getting in because you finish in the top four.
Well, that won't be happening to Everton, will it, this season?
Well, it won't now, I'm afraid, because we had a run of bad results.
Yes.
Tragic, really. We lost 3 out of the last 5, and that was really sort of knackered our chances. Nevertheless,
Still, it could be worse. It could
Hopeful.
be you could be Manchester United fan. You could be David Moyes.
yeah, now it's interesting you should say that.
Yeah.
It is, and by the way, just before we move off the Everton West Ham thing, I did tweet out this morning the fact that Mr. Abrahams, a colleague of ours here,
Oh, I
said
saw
to me,
that. That
said
was
to me the other
interesting.
morning. Oh, yeah, said to me the other morning here in Talksport Towers. He actually asked me who Everton were playing on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I said, "Do you want to think about that again?" Oh, yes, of course. It's my lot, isn't it? I said, "Yes." He said, "Oh, we've got no chance." Completely dismissed the chances of his own team playing.
Right.
So I thought that, the
You thought that
Talksport
should get a wider audience.
exactly Talksport listeners should know that. So I put that out, and
And he then denied it, didn't he? Denied saying it.
he denied saying it, but I mean,
But I could tell it was a non-denial denial.
it was non-denial, and of course the purpose of me putting it out was to make sure that a lot of abuse was heaped upon Mr. Abrahams, otherwise known as the Moose, and that dutifully happened. So
it worked. Good day's work for you.
good day's work because I'm
See,
rattling
there's the
him.
trouble with you. The whole point of your existence is to wind people up, isn't it? Rattle people.
No, I want him rattled as a West Ham fan, because if he gets rattled as a West Ham fan, he then starts making silly noises, and West Ham then start getting nervous, and that undermines them against Everton. And that's my job in life.
Oh, okay.
My job in life is to do anything I can to give Everton an advantage over their opposition. And if I can sort of shake and unsettle, some of their fans who have a voice, who then get shaken and unsettled themselves throughout the community, then that's a good thing.
It's a dirty pool, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it's part of the life plan. Anyway, getting back to Davy Moyes.
David Moyes,
I've worked it all
he's
out.
had another bad week.
He's had a shocking week. I think he's had his worst week.
Yeah.
Because his worst week, losing to Olympiacos, easily the lowest rated side left in the Champions
400
League.
to 1 they are to win the Champions League. Well, they were anyway.
Exactly. Only scraped into the round that they've just played in.
Yeah.
But now, seemingly, in a very strong position to go through. Because of the inability of United to break him down. That allied with Van Persie actually telling a Dutch outfit that too many United players are getting into the spaces that he wants to be in, shows complete and total disorganisation, doesn't it?
Well, as Nigel was saying, it also shows complete disregard for the manager, because he's more or less saying that, they're not doing it the way I want them to do it.
That's right.
And I don't mind saying it.
And I can't fit into this silly plan that David Moyes has got, which doesn't make me the centre of the universe, so to speak, Which, I mean, actually, when you're Van Persie, you should be the centre of the universe, shouldn't you, really?
He came to Old Trafford to be the centre of the universe.
Of course he did. And when he was, they won the league. Anyway, point of my story is, what's very telling is he didn't bring on Marianne Fellaini, for whom he paid £27.1 million, which now most football observers are saying was about 50% too much for a player of his calibre.
Well, even at the time, I think people knew it was overpaying.
Yeah, but Everton did a very good job.
Same as Juan Mata. You paid overpaid for Juan Mata.
Well, everybody's saying that now as well. Was it 37 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's saying that now. But the point of the story is that when they, were 2-0 down and they really needed some muscle up front, which is what Marianne Fellaini does. He goes around unsettling people and, knocking himself about and pushing himself around. Big, huge man. And he wouldn't bring him on because apparently there is a thought that Davy Moyes thought, well, I'm not sure if the fans would like me to bring him on because it's not really the Manchester United way to play football. But
so you're saying that he's making his tactics up as he goes along, thinking what the fans going to say about this?
What I'm saying is, I think he started the season not quite knowing exactly what he wanted to do. I think great managers like Jose Mourinho know exactly what the game plan is, and they stick to it rigidly, no matter what happens, because they
and
say.
And also, you notice things like with Mourinho when the Turks scored a goal, Galatasaray scored a goal, immediately substitutions.
Absolutely,
It wasn't any hanging about. David Moyes doesn't do that.
Absolutely,
he waits 15, 20 minutes.
And you see what I think is happening with Moisey is that I think he's wavering on his plan, and I think he's sort of I think he's having a real problem trying to adjust to the philosophy and the culture of Manchester United.
Well, he's having a crisis of confidence.
Crisis of confidence is absolutely right, Mike. See, the point is, surely if he thinks a long ball works, shouldn't he have brought on Marouane Fellaini and started to try and play that just to get something back?
Yeah.
And then he could have turned around and said to them, look, you moan all night about the long ball, but we went from 2-0 down to 3-2 up. Once I brought on Marouane Fellaini in, he knocked about the defence, scored 2 goals with his head because he's 6'5" tall. We did it that way. Didn't seem to have the confidence to want to do that. And I have to say, it's looking grim for Davy Moyes in the sense of getting players, not just those at Manchester United, but players in Europe or maybe around the world to believe in him as the manager who can take Manchester United forward. That's the biggest crisis of confidence. That's what psychologically, being a student of psychology at one stage of my life, that's what I think is the biggest problem he's got to overcome now. Where is my believability factor? Because at the moment, the believability factor for
I think you better stop for a second.
Yeah.
You get ahead of yourself.
It's the candles. The candles have got into my lungs, I think. But the point is, what is Davy Moyes' believability factor compared to Sir Alex Ferguson? I would say Ferguson was about 99. I'd say Davy's down to about 32 or something like that.
Yeah, I think that may be harsh but true. You did a lot of blinking as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. More from the two mics coming up next on TalkSport.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. There will be an iTunes podcast as ever in a few hours' time, of course, and we'll be sending out a link on that. Mr. Parry, now I've noticed a couple of things about you.
Yeah.
You're quite sort of hyper tonight when you came in.
I'm not
also
hyper.
You're doing an awful lot of blinking. You said you're coughing because of this candle business.
Yeah.
You're blinking as well. Is there something wrong with your eyes?
No, there's nothing wrong with my eyes.
Well, what's going on?
Well,
Come on, you can come clean.
Well, no, it's not a question of coming clean, Mike, and I do object when you sometimes say to me, you're hyper. You've said this to me before, we've been on the Red Bull. Thing is, Mike, I've got more energy in my presentational skills than you have, right? I'm not saying I'm better than you, I'm not saying that I'm, a more experienced or...
You're certainly older.
Excuse me, or have been a presenter longer than
or
you.
More articulate.
I'm not saying that I've had more time to hone my presentation skills. I'm not saying that I'm a much better communicator than you or anything like that.
No. Well,
or something like that.
No.
I'm just saying that I have a different style to yours.
Yes,
yours
do.
is so
But
laid
why
back.
are you blinking so much?
Yours is so laid back. You could describe yourself as horizontal. Mine is up and atom style. Okay.
Really?
Well, the reason I'm blinking is because I've come across a new way of looking after my heart.
All right. It's a sort of therapy or something.
It's a sort of therapy. It's to do with candles, aromatic candles.
Really?
And what I do is I now spend a night a week without any electric power in the house, and I do everything by candlelight. So there is electric power in the house, but I just don't switch the lights on. That's basically it. Basically switch the
How
lights
many candles have you got?
on. About...
It sounds like some kind of Santeria grotto you're running.
Well,
you're not sacrificing chickens really as well.
Hang on, I can count them for you. 2 bathrooms, I've got a candle in each one. That's 2 in the hall, 4... 1 in one bedroom, 1 in the 6, 2 in the lounge, 8, 9.
Where are
There's
you
one
getting
in
all
the
these
kitchen.
candles?
Well, I go and buy them. I'll buy them.
Are they like the big thick candles
Yeah,
you're talking about?
well, they're not even candles. They're jars of stuff.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, so the jar with the big round
Yeah,
candle.
that's right,
They're
yeah.
quite expensive, those, aren't they?
One of them's 16 quid.
Yeah.
16 quid each. And you take the lid off the candle and you light it, and so you've got all these great fumes coming out, right?
Yeah.
It does make the place smell great.
Very dangerous, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that's worrying me a little bit in case one falls over or something. But the point is...
Well, if you fall asleep with a load of candles in the house on, set fire to the curtains, I don't think it sounds like a very good idea. You should have thought this one through.
Well, I'm not sure I've thought it through fully yet, so that might be a good point. Anyway, the point of my story is that the reason for this is that I discovered by intensive reading, as I always do, to try and find, the secret cure for the knackered heart.
Right. So how is this supposed to help you, anyway?
Well, I'm just about to tell you. Although I believe in my doctors and my heart consultant, absolutely, science, will always come first. There are other things you can do to help the heart, and one of them, which I read, on a
Setting fire to your house, I don't think it's going to help you at all.
No, it's not setting fire to your house. I didn't know until I read this that candles emit salt.
Really?
Yes, they emit salt.
Salt?
Yeah.
How does that happen then?
Well, it's something to do with the compound of wax that candles are made of, and it emits salt. And the salt, you go...
Salt in what form?
And you stand over the candle, breathing in the fumes.
What, so sort of, a cloud of salt, literally?
Well, like... Peter or pewter, is it called?
Pewter.
Or something like that.
Well, pewter's a metal.
Gunpowder. No, what is it in gunpowder? Is it saltpeter? Saltpeter. Saltpeter,
that's
yeah,
what
that's right.
That's what they used to put in cigarettes.
I'm sorry, it's what?
That's what they used to put in cigarettes.
Is it? Well, okay.
Yeah, it has an unfortunate side effect.
Does it? What is it?
Yeah, well, it makes you impotent, basically.
Oh, come off.
They used to put it in people's tea during the war, so they didn't, find themselves
That
aroused.
was bromide. That's bromide. They put that in prisoners' teas, bromide,
yeah, saltpeter
so that you don't get
effect.
sort of sexually frisky in confined spaces and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's I don't believe what you're saying. Anyway, point of the story is.
So, do you have a particular flavour candle that you favour?
I think there's a lilac candle. There's definitely a lilac one.
Maybe.
Yeah, and but anyway, look, the point, and you stand over the candle, you breathe these fumes out there, and then you get the saltpeter that goes up
You're
your
actually
nose.
breathing in the fumes.
Yeah.
That is very dangerous.
No, it's not, because I've read about it. And this then, in some way...
Actually, you'll be on crystal meth next.
No, it's nothing like that. This helps the heart. Now, the point is that it's not any good if you just put it in one room and walk in and stand there for 3 minutes, then walk out again into the normal atmosphere. That's why I have the candles all over the house. So
is this why you're blinking so much, because it's so dark in there all the time?
Well, it could be. It does seem to affect my eyes a bit, and I must admit, I had a bit of a strange
Where'd you get
moment
this idea from, anyway?
Well, I do study intensely the alternative sort of cures for heart. Not that I'm saying anybody should go for them, because you've got to take the scientific deliberations of your consultant. I don't believe in quack medicine or anything like that. But
you just believe in putting candles all over your house and breathing in the fumes.
Well, they've got
That's certainly not quack medicine, that.
No, but there is scientific base in it, in that the saltpeter in the candles is very good for your heart, and that can help. Now, you see, one of the reasons I went looking for that, Mike, is because for some time now I've been basing my heart recovery programme, in addition to science and the 22 tablets I take a day to keep it going, right?
I've never seen you taking any tablets.
Well, I don't take him here. I take him in the morning
for example,
when I come out.
when we spent the day at Tottenham, right, we were together for quite some period of time.
I agree.
Some might say around about 12 hours.
Yes.
And I never saw you taking any tablets during that whole time.
I took 18 tablets before I came out in the morning, and then when I left you and went home at night, I took 4 before I go to bed at night. And that's what I do every day of my life.
Well, I'm glad you didn't light any candles that night.
Eh?
I'm glad you didn't light any candles that night. You'd have exploded.
Is that some sort of a joke, is it? Yeah.
Well, you would have done.
Yeah. No. And anyway, the point of the story is...
According to our in-house doctor,
Yeah.
saltpeter and candles can cause heart and blood pressure issues.
No,
Are you sure you haven't got this wrong?
it's salt rather than saltpeter, to be honest. But I mean, you were being pernickety about it, so I was trying to explore the actual fathom the actual recipe. But look, point of the story is, the reason I turned to this is because for some time now I have definitely, in my view, improved my heart mechanism, which only works at 1/3 of the pace of yours, right?
Similar to your brain.
I'm not going to rise to that. On a basis of walking at least 4 miles a day, if possible,
Yes.
and combining it with eating a packet and a half of salted peanuts, right? Because
So you're inhaling salt and eating salted peanuts.
Well,
do you
this
not know that salt is actually bad for you?
Well, it's not the salt that's bad for you. I suddenly discovered, actually, by reading another medical journal, that vitamin E is a big constituent. Constituent? That's right.
Constituent, yeah.
Of the penicle structure, peanuts.
The what?
I mean, the peanut
The penicle structure?
No, the penutical structure. That's what I meant to say.
You mean the structure of a peanut?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and what's good for the heart is the oil in the peanuts.
Peanut
it's very,
oil.
very good.
You can buy peanut oil, just drink that. It might be easier. Cut to the middleman.
No. So this is good, but I did read somewhere that contains a lot of vitamin E, and unfortunately, overdosing on vitamin E can give you cancer of the prostate.
Oh.
Allegedly,
Right.
because I mean, all these are theories. No. So
This It's completely ridiculous. this idea.
No.
I think you just stop it altogether. You won't be making the Monday night show at this rate.
No, I don't want anybody to be taking too much notice of what I'm saying, because everybody...
Don't worry, nobody does.
No. What I meant was...
There's no issue there.
Everybody in their own position has to make up their own minds about how they seek alternative treatment in addition to the medical scientific treatment.
I'll tell you something else that's bad for you, by the way, while we're on the subject of too much salt. Tomato ketchup. There's a woman in the papers this morning who consumes 3 bottles a week of tomato ketchup.
I saw that.
And more or less her own body weight in a year.
Cool.
And she's been told that this is very, very dangerous. She even puts it on roast dinners, salad and bananas.
Why does she eat all this, then?
Well, she probably likes it, same as you. I mean, you were telling me that you cook tomatoes, put them on toast, and you put ketchup in them as well.
Well, I do, actually. I mean, what happens is... See, funny enough is, I was just related to prostate cancer. Tomatoes are very, very good for
tomatoes
preventing.
are, but not ketchup.
Well,
no, it's not a well. It's no.
Well, ketchup is a derivative of tomatoes,
well,
obviously.
You know, lots of things are a derivative of tomatoes, but it's not good for you.
Well, what I do with the tomato, you see, you got this all wrong again. You mislead all the time. If I use a can of tomatoes, I then tip out the tomatoes into a pan, but I keep the tomato juice, into a pan. Did I say can? I meant pan.
You said a pan.
A pan, okay, a pan. So I leave the juice in the can, right? So you got the can with the juice in it and the pan with the tomatoes in it, right? You know, in the can. Who did the song, put your man in the can, honey. You got to can the can. That was Suzi Quatro.
It was.
Suzi Quatro.
Yeah.
So anyway,
another great award-winning singer.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh. Do you know she was only about 4'11"?
Yeah, I know.
And she played
was ideal first Mrs. Parry. The only woman you can find is actually shorter than you.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that.
Yeah, we're going to stop now. That's enough about your mad theories about... What are you going to say about Suzi Quatro?
I'll tell you, she's 4'11". She played this massive, great bass guitar, as a result of which her body is completely misaligned now, because one half of her body is all muscle rippled because she was, holding this guitar around her shoulder, and the other one's a bit withered.
Absolute nonsense. And where did you get this stuff? Mike Porky Parry and myself, Mike Graham, back with some more next. The ever-resourceful team here at Extra Time. Imagine that, finding a Suzi Quatro song just because you mentioned it. From the vault, no less. I'm Mike Graham, he is Mike Parry, we are the two Mikes. Now, I want to talk to you about something which I'm very serious about here. I don't want you to give me your usual glib response about, well, it's what I have to do. You told me the other day that you've had an infestation of ladybirds, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know if you call it an infestation of ladybirds.
Oh, you do?
But, ladybirds are very beautiful little creatures.
They're not.
They don't do any harm to anybody.
They do.
Unless they're poisonous, and there are very few poisonous ones around.
No, there's not.
There are black ones, there are red ones, there are yellow ones.
Yes, that's right.
Some have got white spots, some have got black spots, some have got red spots. I mean, they're fascinating. Now, you have told me that you're bringing in, the pest control people to basically murder all of these ladybirds.
Well, I've murdered a few hundred of them myself. I had to.
Well, how can you sleep at night?
Well, I'm sorry, but look, the only
Why
reason...
do you kill ladybirds?
Right,
Nobody kills ladybirds. It's like spiders. You don't kill spiders. It's bad luck.
I don't kill spiders. But the only reason that we're all affectionate towards ladybirds is because when we were all little kids, we used to read books by the Ladybird... is it a publishing company, or were they called Ladybird Books or something?
They were Ladybird Books, yeah. No, that wasn't the reason. The reason was because they're poor, defenceless, very small creatures...
No, they're not defenceless at all.
...which do no harm at all to your house.
No. What happened was, this started last year, right? I noticed that all of a sudden there were a lot of ladybirds around one of the windows.
When you say a lot, how many?
Maybe 6.
6?
Yeah.
So you can't handle 6 ladybirds?
Well,
just open the window and let them fly away.
Hang on. When I got rid of the 6 ladybirds, the next morning when I got up and pulled the curtains, another 6, right? So I'm thinking, where are all these ladybirds
Maybe they came
from?
back. What do you mean when you got rid of them? How did you get rid of them?
Well, I squashed them. I got tissue.
Squashed them?
Yeah, I got kitchen roll and I squashed them and threw them away.
That's a horrendous thing to do.
No, it's not, because they were leaving this deposit like yellow fluid on the windowsill. So I don't like this. And I mistakenly...
Leaking ladybirds?
Yeah, I mistakenly trod on one, right, on the carpet, and the yellow fluid on the carpet, and I had devil's own job. Well, I didn't get it out,
Listen,
obviously.
Let me just read you this text here. Paul the trucker on the M1 says, I don't know what type of candles old Short Arms has been sniffing, but he's off his rocker.
Off his rocker, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? No, you don't understand. When you've got a hard problem, you go to desperate lengths to try and correct it.
Well, I'm very disturbed about it. I think you're wrong. I think you're entirely wrong to murder innocent creatures.
Right, well, I'm sorry. Let me tell you the story.
Ladybirds.
Let me tell you the story. Anyway, so... I think, where are these all coming from? And I look up and I see, one literally crawling out of the...
Presumably this was before you had the candles, then?
Oh, yeah, a long time before I had the candles. So anyway, I go to open the window, and as I open the window, quite a few ladybirds fall down onto the windowsill. I think, what's going on here?
When you say quite a few, how many? Are we talking thousands?
No, another 6 or 8 or
6?
something like that.
Well, that's
yeah.
not an infestation, is
Well,
it?
it is. So anyway, I got a chair, got up on the windowsill, and they were living in the window. You know, the movable part of the window, you see what I mean? And they burrowed into the wood at the top. And I'm going to have a new window, by the way. I didn't realise this. So anyway...
You sure there's not termites you're dealing with?
No.
The ladybirds don't burrow into wood.
They do.
Rubbish.
They do. Well, you didn't know that, you see. Neither did I. Anyway, so I go into the kitchen and I select an ammonia spray.
Is this the one you normally spray around the lamppost outside to put the dogs off from
It is the
peeing
same
there?
one. It is the same one. You're absolutely right.
Highly
yeah.
toxic.
Yeah.
You shouldn't breathe any of that in.
No, I don't breathe it in. So I go back in and I spray it, and I have to kill them all, I'm afraid, you know, because they are literally becoming a pest, a nuisance.
Well, how are they a nuisance?
Well, you don't want ladybirds crawling all over your house, do you? It's ridiculous.
Well, it's not such a terrible
There could
thing.
be a nest there, and there might be another nest. Anyway, so I spray them all, and I smash a few of them, you know, with a paper and that kind of stuff, and get rid of them. And I think, right, it's all gone. Anyway.
Somebody should put a webcam inside your house so that people could
Few
actually
weeks-
watch what you do when you're there.
A few weeks later, they're back again, so I give them the old ammonia spray again, and that was last summer. Now, what's happened this spring is that on good days when it's been mildish, right, and it
Yeah.
hasn't been terribly cold this spring, they're back. So, anyway, I decided I had enough. So I ring up pest control people, and you know, the advert in the Yellow Pages said, you know, like vermin, mice, rats, seagulls, pigeons, squirrels and all that. Didn't mention ladybirds. So
Former Fleet Street journalists.
yeah, well, absolutely. So I ring them up and I say hello. You know, tell them who I was.
You don't
and
have to tell me the whole conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we haven't got like hours here.
No. So I said, look, and I thought they were going to laugh at me. I said, ladybirds. Said, oh no, very, very common. You know, and
Well,
I.
of course they're not going to laugh at you because you're going to pay them money.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe some Eastern European gentleman will turn up and
No.
they'll give you a bill for 20 quid and you give them 100.
No, they're coming round. They're going to sort it out. But I might need a new window because they said to me, yeah, they can damage woodwork and that kind of stuff. But Mike, this idea
These
that
people
they're
see you coming.
this idea that they're cuddly little things creeping around.
Well,
No.
they're not cuddly. You don't need to wipe them out.
I'm telling you, I've declared war on ladybird. Any ladybird comes into my house, into
Why don't you buy a tarantula?
Porky Towers, is going to get it. I'm telling you.
Why don't you buy a tarantula?
Otherwise, I'll stay away. Look, that's absolute nonsense. I don't know what you're talking about.
Buy a tarantula.
Buy a tarantula.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to have a poisonous tarantula in the house, you fool.
No,
What are you on
but
about?
you can have the poison sac taken out, but they'll still eat the ladybirds. They'll catch them in the web.
I'm not a tarantula running around my house, you...
Well, it sounds like it'd be safer than you with your ammonia spray and your candles.
No,
If you
no.
spray that ammonia spray and you've got a candle lit, you'll explode.
You tried to make out that I'm some sort of oddball, Mike, when all I'm trying to
Not
do
at all.
is actually...
You're completely normal. You're just like everybody else. You don't do anything strange
all
at
I'm
all.
trying to do is protect my premises and, you know, protect the health of my own body. We only get one
Why don't you get
indigenous body.
Why don't you get what we used to have in America, those mosquito screens, and put those up in the windows, and then they won't be able to come in.
But they're still out there eating through my windows, and I can't
Well, they
have
won't
that.
eat through the window.
They do eat through the windows, honestly, and it's quite eerie actually, and I don't like it. I'm not having it. So you know, the ladybirds had better get lost quick, otherwise they are getting it.
I think, as
believe me.
Paul the trucker said, you've obviously been sniffing some kind of strange candle
I
bloody
think-
wax,
I
and
think
you've gone
not, pal.
completely
I think
barking
not.
mad.
I think
now,
not.
let
Yeah.
me talk to you about property, because you're a property magnate, always have been, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've decided to invest in property. Did you see that story the other day about rented property and how
Yes.
people are now renting property
Yes.
much more than they're actually buying it? And I think the percentage now of people who own property is down at one of its lowest levels for a long time. My theory on that is that you can't get a mortgage, basically.
Well, A, you can't get a mortgage because property is very expensive, but B, here, I'll tell you, it's interesting, Mike, in what I call Porky Towers, right?
Yeah.
I live in a penthouse on the top.
You should rename it now. Should you not call it in Ladybird Lane or something?
I'll ignore that. Now, I live in a penthouse on the top. There's 2 penthouses on the top,
It's not
right?
a penthouse, rubbish.
Which
It's a flat.
no, Mike, it's got a roof
I've been
garden.
there.
It's got a roof. Yeah, I didn't take him to the roof garden, though, because we only called in temporarily.
Yeah, because I might have thrown myself off.
You might have thrown yourself off. But anyway, the point of my story is, so there's 2 on the top and there's 30 flats below, okay?
Right.
Every one of the 30 flats below is rented out now,
Wow.
okay? So
So is it like a buy-to-rent sort of building, in other words?
no, it's not. No, when I moved there about 10, 12 years ago, it was 60% owner-occupier
Right.
and 40% were rented out. And, you know, it was in the era when people were first getting onto the buy-to-let investment
Yes.
idea, right? Now it is totally, apart from the 2 penthouses at the top, it is totally all rented out. And in fact, I think in one case, I think one property company has bought 9 of the flats. You see what I mean? So what I'm saying is,
so it's not so much individuals that have bought them and rented them out.
Well, some have. I mean, there's another block of flats in a road parallel to mine, and I own one of the flats there. And again.
Why?
Well, because I bought it to rent it out, it's an investment. And what I'm saying is almost every flat in that block as well is also on buy-to-let basis. Now, the whole culture of property ownership in this
is
country...
because of people like you who have completely distorted the housing market. So for ordinary families who can't buy a house, the reason is because everybody's buying them to let them out.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yes, it is. That's precisely what's happening.
No, not at...
Rackmans like you.
No, not Rackmans like me. People who simply want to move, because it's the mobility of labour means that you shouldn't buy a house if you know you're going to be moving in 2 years' time, because the process is too complicated.
Well, maybe it should be made easier, but there's no point in owning more than one house. I mean, maybe if you wanted to have a flat in a city and a place outside in the country, that would be fine. I don't think people should be allowed to just buy loads and loads of flats and rent them out to people.
Why not?
You do.
Why not?
Because it distorts the market.
Rubbish. It's an investment. I mean, for instance, your parents never owned a house in their life, did they?
No, my father didn't believe in owning property.
No, exactly.
Unfortunately, he lived in Hampstead. I wish he had bought the place and then he could have left it to me and he would have had some money.
We'd have had millions. But look, the point I'm making is this, is that when I was growing up, the first thing your parents used to say to you, I grew up in a sort of, middle-class sort of environment.
Did you?
The first thing your parents say is, remember, son, get your feet on the property ladder, right? Now, when you think that I bought my first house, which was a semi-detached house in Sale, Greater Manchester, and I worked for the Daily Express, for £20,000, when I was earning £12,000, it means I bought my first house. It was only a small one. It was a semi-detached 2-bedroom, one of those where the stairs are in the living room and went up to, the 2 bedrooms and that kind of stuff. Bought it for 20 grand when I was earning 12,000. That means I bought a house, a proper house, with everything in it, like a bathroom, a kitchen, a garden, all that, for less than twice my salary.
Yes.
Now, you imagine that
today. Can't do that now.
Imagine in London somebody earning, say, £35,000 a year.
Yeah.
The idea of them being able to buy anywhere to live for £60,000 is ludicrous.
It is.
The cheapest you could get would be £200,000, would you say?
I would say that, for a studio.
Yeah, well, it depends how far along you go. Probably at £150,000, you'd probably get a 1-bedroom flat in, somewhere like, I don't know, Sutton, where I live, or something like that.
Nobody wants to live there, though. It's too far out.
No, exactly, I agree. Unless, you have got your life sorted out and you can get a driver to come and take you to work all the time and all that sort of thing, you know what I mean? Which is good. Now, what I'm saying is that because the value of property has gone up so high, it has restricted people's ability to buy, but it's also meant that those people who see investment in property and who can afford it are taking the majority of the market.
Yeah, but the other problem is there's loads of people who are trying to get themselves, what they think is going to be some kind of pension for life by buying property.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Well, it's going to, because it doesn't always accrue in value, and there's now loads of people who own a house, and the property of the house that they put into the equity they put into it, they're never going to get back.
It's gone into negative equity, you're talking about. Yeah, negative equity is a terrible thing. It happened to me in the early 2000s, but in the 90s, when I bought a load of property then, I did very well out of it.
I'm sure you did.
But it's
great taking advantage of people.
It has
been like killing ladybirds.
I don't take advantage of anybody. The point is, if you've got the ability to buy and you think it's an investment, investments can go up as well as down, Mike. You know that.
You sound like the guy on the television.
You see, you're the sort of idiot who goes around buying houses on floodplains, and then when they get flooded,
not true.
You then go and flog them to somebody else on a dry day. You only put your house on sale. You've told me this, so it's not a secret.
No, I've not
told me
anything of
that
the
you
sort.
only allowed the estate agents to bring anybody around on dry days
absolute rubbish.
when there was no water in your back
that's not
garden,
true. No,
and
the
on
truth
days
about it, no,
on days
that's not
when
true.
it was raining, there was water in the back
that's
garden.
not true.
So don't you tell me that I'm exploiting people.
That's not true.
Me, a Rackman, you're more like a con man.
A con man, that's
Con
nice.
man.
That's nice. No, the point about my house was that it flooded when there was massive floods in 2001, I think it was, around 2000, around then, which there haven't been as big floods from then until now.
But you still flogged it to somebody else.
Yeah, but they knew it had been flooded.
Oh, rubbish.
Anyway, it was under extreme...
Was that a selling point, was it? By the way, this house gets flooded 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah, it can turn into a water feature.
Yeah, big selling point.
There was a stream running through it.
Stream running.
Anyway, the point is that I was in distress at the time because I was in the middle of getting divorced, so we had to sell the house. So thanks very much for digging
Well, you might
out.
have been in distress. I bet your wife and children were in more distress.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed for bringing it back up to us. Mike Porky Parry will be back, of course, next Monday night. The Two Mikes podcast will be available very, very shortly in a few hours' time, and you'll be able to listen to all the old ones as well. Thank you, Mr. Parry. Have a very nice weekend.